Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. Today I'm here for Mercy Tiara Kits, and I'm going to be creating a 12 by 12 layout featuring the September 2024 release called Smile. And I'm going to be sharing some ideas for creating pages with bright, bold colors. This kit is full of them with material from Chamel's Reasons to Smile collection and Adventurous from Paige Evans. So here's my narrowed down selection. I have paper from Chamel and Paige Evans. The embellishments are from the Smile main kit and the embellishment add-on, and I have some cardstock from my stash. This kit sold out super quickly, and the next release is called Cuddle Up. It will be available for purchase October 1st, 2024. So you can buy these kits a la carte, so whenever you want, or you can purchase a subscription and that gives you a little bit of a discount. I will put a bunch of links below and you can find out all that information there. So here's what's on my desk. You can see I've already double matted 2 photos. I've also created a frame style foundation page with 3 sheets of paper. I gutted 2 of them. There is a tutorial on my channel where I explain how to do that. So that's going to be listed and linked below. I have the scraps from behind my foundation page. I use them as well to map my photos. Here are my pattern papers. The first 2 are from Chamel. The text print is from Paige Evans. Here's my embellishment tray. Again, most of it is from the main kit and the embellishment add-on, and I'll talk about those embellishments later on in the process. The first thing I want to do is cut up a bunch of squares of paper because I'm going to be creating a grid to place on top of that frame style foundation page that I already showed you. It's just going to be another layer that's going to be underneath my photos and embellishments. I'm going to cut up 9 blocks of paper in 3 different pattern papers, and you may notice on my trimmer there is a piece of mint tape adhered at the 3-inch mark. What I'm doing is I'm bumping up my paper against this tape, and what that does is it ensures that I have identical size squares. Now squares are easy to cut out, but for some reason when I have to cut a bunch of them, they never seem to be identical in size. So by putting that tape there and bumping up my paper, it just ensures that I have identical size squares. It's just a little hack. So you can see I continue doing that off camera. I have 9 squares and 3 pattern papers, and I also adhered a little bit of scrap cardstock behind each one of them just to make them a little bit more substantial. So now I'm placing them on my page, looking for a pattern that pleases me, just making sure no 2 identical squares are up against each other. And I'm going to show you 2 different ways to adhere this. Now I have a tool, you'll see that a little bit later on. But if you do not have a tool, I find the easiest way to adhere a grid like this so that it ends up in the middle of your page is to start in one corner. So I'm starting in the top right, and you see me positioning it with my ruler. What I'm making sure is that the margin on the right is identical to the margin on the top. And in my case, I'm doing it 1 inch from the edge of the blue cardstock. Once I do that, now normally I would adhere it, but I'm going to do mine a little bit differently. Then I jump to the opposite corner, to the bottom corner. I do the same thing. Then I fill in the rest of the grid the very same way. You can see I have a template here. It is from Simple Stories. So what I did was I used that mint tape, adhered it to the middle of my foundation page, and now I'm simply filling in the blocks with my squares of paper. Now here I want to talk about bold, bright pattern papers. Now I love bold, bright patterns, but I find them intimidating to use sometimes. So one way I like to use them is to simply cut them up in smaller bits, just like I did with these blocks of paper. Also, I like to place them on neutral cardstock, and for me, especially white cardstock, but any neutral will do. This simply makes bold, bright patterns more manageable just by cutting them up and placing them on neutral paper, a neutral background. So you can see my background is all adhered and I have all of my embellishing around me. So I'm just going to go through this before I start creating clusters. I did a fair amount of fussy cutting. I'm showing you a bunch of flowers here, and I cut those out from one of the pattern papers that was in the main kit. This was from a Chamel collection as well, from the Reasons to Smile collection. I didn't end up cutting out the leaves. They are on the paper. I'm not a very good fussy cutter. Instead, I die cut myself some green leaves with this die set. It's an older one from the Hip Kit Club. I just used a scrap of cardstock. If you do not have a die cutting machine or any special punches for leaves, I'm going to show you how you can do that. It's really, really easy. I'm basically taking green cardstock and I'm folding it in half. Now what I'm going to do is take a pair of scissors and I'm simply going to cut myself basically a semicircle. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit off screen here, but you're going to see it in a moment. I cut myself out kind of a long semicircle, and out pops a perfect little leaf. It's perfect for these flowers and it doesn't take any special tools at all. Now what I'm going to do is continue showing you the other embellishments. So I did some more fussy cutting. That camera paper from Chamel, I did cut myself out a handful of cameras, and I'm showing you that behind them I backed them with, again, a little bit of scrap cardstock just to make them a little bit more substantial in case I want to pop them up with some foam adhesive. Also, I have a handful of ephemera pieces, basically a narrowed down selection from this pack, which is a bunch of labels, frames, and tags. That was in the main kit. It's from the Paige Evans Adventures collection. My title's going to be Sunny Days. I took it from this Thickers pack. It's from the Chamel Reasons to Smile collection. I'm also thinking of using those small puffy alphas. Those are from Pink Paisley from the Joyful Notes collection. It was in a past Mercy Tiara Kits collection. And I'm also showing you I have some puffy stickers, cardstock stickers, those both from Chamel. I'm also showing you I have some die cut circles. I cut those out with a die set from Stampin' Up! Called Spotlight on Nature dies. They're basically fancy circle dies. So now what I want to do is start creating my embellishment cluster. So I'm starting by placing my photos and my title. So you can kind of see where I'm going with this. I'm overlapping the smaller photo on top of the bigger one, and I'm going to nestle my title between the two. For my base layer for the embellishment clusters, I'm going to start with these circles. Tags are also a great option here as well. It's always nice to start embellishment clusters with something big. Now what I'm going to do is start building on those circles. So I'm digging into those flowers there, and I'm just putting an arrangement of them in the bottom right and the top left. The bottom right's going to be bigger than the top left. When I create embellishment clusters, I like to do them in different sizes. Now I'm coming in, I know I'm going to be tucking in some leaves. At this point, I realize I'm covering up that circle in the bottom right a bit too much because I do want to add a bit of journaling there. So I'm continuing with the leaves. I know I'm going to do the same thing in the top left corner, having a quick peek at the other embellishments, but at this point I realize I just have to start adhering. I have way too many loose pieces on my desk. So I am starting with the photos, then I will come in. I think the next thing I'm going to come in with is the circles there. So I'm just tucking them in the bottom right and the top left. When I come in for the title here, I'm just adding a little bit more adhesive to the photos. I realized right there that I hadn't put much adhesive there. These titles are on a foam title sheet, and the top of them are cardstock, and I find them a little bit fragile. They're quite substantial, but if you bend them, the cardstock at the top will crease, and I don't like that. So you can kind of see me peeling back the wax paper that's behind it as opposed to peeling off the letters. I did that just to make sure I didn't bend the cardstock on top. So my title's there. Now I'm coming in with the flowers. For some of them, I'm popping them up on foam adhesive, and then I'm going to come in with the little leaves as well. Now, what I want to point out here is already I've got blocks of bold pattern paper on top of that white cardstock. That's one way of using bold pattern papers and not having them overwhelm you. Another thing is to keep in mind these big bold patterns also have a decorative element. So I'm not going to be putting tons of embellishment on my page because already the bold pattern papers have a decorative impact. So I do have 2 clusters with the flowers, and now I'm coming in with some finishing touches, but I do not need tons of it. Again, the bold pattern papers already take up quite a bit of space on the page, and I quite like it. I just don't want to overwhelm myself. So I'm looking for some small finishing touches. I find myself a little tab there. It's kind of like, it's almost like pink and orange, and I like how it picks up on the orange in the flowers that I put on the page. So I tuck that in the photo in the top left. I also find a little stamp that says Canada. Now these photos were taken in Lunenburg, Canada, so I kind of like that there in the bottom right cluster. And you can also see for the title, I have in Lunenburg. I have that on wax paper. Those I have from those puffy alphas from Pink Paisley. So what I'm doing right now is what I just did. I adhered that tab in the top left. I adhered that stamp in the bottom right, and now I'm coming in to adhere those little alphas. So I continue that off camera, and I'm actually quite happy with that. And also I added the word travel, which was part of the embellishment pack that was in the main kit. I added that to the tab in the top left. Now I'm looking at these little fussy cut cameras. Now I end up putting one at one point in the bottom area there, in the bottom right. I maybe have done that already, and I kind of like that, but I'm also liking them kind of layered up on the squares. Again, very, very subtle, but I'm thinking maybe I will pop some of these up on foam adhesive. So I'm not adding a whole lot of visual weight or decorative impact on the page, but I'm just adding a little something something. And also in those 2 blocks, I have 2 cameras that kind of bleed out the side of the squares, and I quite like that. I'm also having a look at the puppy stickers, and I find myself too, but for some strange reason, I managed to lose one of them in about 2 minutes, so I'm still looking for it. Anyway, here is my finished layout. Off camera, I adhered the cameras, a puppy sticker in the top left, and I did my journaling. I hope I gave you some ideas for using bright, bold colors and patterns on a layout. Remember, if you find bold papers intimidating, cut them up. Put them on a neutral background. And don't forget, the boldness can serve as an embellishment. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, I would be honored and thrilled if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very, very much. Make sure you check out the Mercy Tiara Kits shop, Instagram, and Facebook page. I will put a bunch of links below. Take care, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.